So there is the response. 4 goals put past Brighton, a team that many thought might be the slip-up for Manchester City on the title running right now. Obviously, the Premier League title race red hot as it stands right now. Manchester City leapfrogging Liverpool and moving to second in the table. 1 point and 1 game behind Arsenal. Let's welcome in Frank Leboeuf to talk a little bit more about this. That was quite the response tonight, Frank.
It was, and I loved the De Bruyne's goal with the pass from Foden from the outside of the foot, or maybe it was Bernardo Silva, I don't remember. But the Walker's cross and the header reminds me Mr. Van Persie when he scored one beautiful header with the dive. That was beautiful. And for me that was it. After you have a free kick, which wasn't a free kick. So a help of the referee, and after you have the help of Brighton, so an easy win for Manchester City. Nothing to complain about City. They did their game, but the game was over after 30 minutes. And they are on their money time. They're ready. We know that they love to do that. They showed it last season, the season before, and I see them fighting a lot. But what they did today was good enough. But I wasn't impressed because it was more the referee who killed the game in the second with the second goal, and after Brighton who killed himself with the third one.
Is it fair for Frank to bring up those controversial moments?
Absolutely. I thought they were telling on the game, and while we could point to not just that incident, I thought Brighton had very good calls for 2 penalties, not just one. Gross and Pedro. The truth is, the better team won. Brighton were trying to out-City Manchester City, got themselves in all kinds of trouble as a result. But if you're Brighton, you can't help but think about the what-ifs. What if that second isn't given and the score remains at 1? What if we were awarded either one of those 2 penalties, the earlier one in particular, Pedro and Rodri? What if that were given early in the second half? How does that change the momentum of the game? Because at that point, let's be honest, the air had all but left the stadium. That all of a sudden gives Brighton something to play for. That all of a sudden maybe puts Manchester City back on their heels.
And so while we like to point the finger at the referee, and rightfully so, because he does make a mistake in this particular call, we also have to say Brighton, as the ball is being played and Phil Foden is taking the free kick, you have Pascal Gross, who's supposed to be part of, if not the wall, he's just off the wall a little bit. What does he do? He turns his back to the ball. So, look, yeah, Brighton, complain on the referee all you want, but you can complain about yourself as well. And so to the point that Frank was making is, once we get beyond that second goal and we go on to the third goal, I love and appreciate the way that Brighton likes to play the game. And they like to play out of the back. And when it does work, it's great. But when you have a high-pressing team like Manchester City, once you break through that first line of pressure, don't come back to the pressure. Take the game into the middle third. You broke the pressure, now take it into the middle third. What Brighton do in the third goal is little pass, backwards, sideways, backwards. What do you think is going to happen? Eventually, a pass is going to come up short. Eventually, you're going to lose the ball. Eventually, you're going to give up a goal. So while I appreciate their style of play, at some point, it's just too much. You just have to read the game for what it is, and you can't just hang on to, well, this is the way we play the game, so that's how we're going to live and die with it. No, you can live with it, but you don't have to die with it. So it becomes a stubborn approach. And it wasn't just the defenders doing it. It was the goalkeeper as well. And it's nice and cute and beautiful when the goalkeeper is like doing drag backs and step overs. So you know what you're doing? You're inviting more pressure, and inviting more pressure, and inviting more pressure. Eventually, pressure becomes too much. They lose the ball in a bad area, and they give up a goal.
Frank?
Yeah, they played Manchester City game. Manchester City was ready for that and was expecting that. So stubborn is the right adjective for Brighton tonight. When you feel, and you have some experienced player like Dunk, I think they should say, okay, guys, it doesn't work. It's Manchester City. We're going to be caught in our game at some point. So play further up. Play maybe the second ball like we used to play, and start playing your game and the way you know how to play and very well play. With passes and everything, but further up on the field, not in your own box. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, it can happen sometimes. Sometimes you can do that. But it's like, it's like being really caught into that with a stubborn mindset. I don't get it. Really, I don't get it. Maybe it wasn't enough in our time. We didn't want to take any risk. Now it's too much. You go to the extreme, and it doesn't work. And so many times I see young kids with no experience being caught in that, and it stays for your lifelong as a football player. You will be remembered with the guy who made that stupid mistake. But that stupid mistake is the responsibility of the coach.
There are a couple of things to this passing the ball out to the back that I think set City apart. One, personnel, and I've made the point that I think Edison is the best at it, and City are the best at using the goalkeeper for one reason in particular, Edison's passing range. You try to press high up the park, as so many do, or as City were doing with Steele. What Edison will do is drill a ball over the top 60 yards, and all of a sudden you're backtracking. Cue Kyle Walker overlapping, and the Julian Alvarez, what was that, the fourth goal. That's why you cannot press City as high up as City were pressing Brighton today, because they will beat you over the top. The second thing, and to Ali's point, is once you pass out of that pressure, and again, City do it better than anybody else. Can you imagine Phil Foden or Kevin De Bruyne in this instance picking the ball up 10 yards ahead of the centre-backs after they've broken that pressure and going back? Absolutely not. Every time City break that pressure, it just opens up ahead because you've got runners going every which way, and Kevin De Bruyne can find those passes. Kevin De Bruyne will play a 40 or 50-yard ball forward 99 times to the ones that he plays a 5-yard ball backwards. And that's where I think everybody else gets it wrong, or nobody else gets it as good as City is. Nobody is anywhere near as effective as they are.
Well, Manchester City are the VIP elite level of that possession, of breaking through pressure with their possession. Brighton are the lesser version of that. Still good to look at, still a nice style, but you have to understand that if you're playing against the elite VIP level of the same style that you're trying to play, maybe you make adjustments. Maybe you change a little bit. Not all your personality, not all your makeup as a team, but maybe you don't take unnecessary risk. Maybe you put the ball over there and have Danny Welbeck hang on to it. When is Manchester City at their most vulnerable? When you're able to press through break through that first initial pressure, and then you go on the counter because they committed so many numbers forward into the pressure, so many numbers forward with possession. Now that they don't have the ball, you go on the counter, you expose that. Did Brighton ever try to do that? Absolutely not. And so then it was all City all the time.
You know that you have the possibility to judge a little bit more De Zerbi. He's a new coach. He's talented. The way he makes Brighton playing is great. But because of that game, I was expecting to see something different. Maybe him trying to do something else to make sure that you don't go into what Manchester City is expecting. And I didn't see that. I would have loved to see De Zerbi changing his game, saying to this player, you know what, we're going to play further up, we're going to give pressure, because we know that City doesn't like that. When they have guys and they have to press, yes, of course, the goalkeeper is very good at launching long balls like Shaka mentioned before. But that was for the fourth goal. I would have loved to see De Zerbi, and De Zerbi missed that opportunity to show to the world that he's ready to maybe go to to a bigger club, because he has other options, and he showed that he has only one option. It's good, but against elite club, VIP club, it doesn't work.
Well, as mentioned, the title race is red hot right now, and this weekend it could be about to get even hotter. This is the odds right now. We're taking a look at it. What are your thoughts on how things are shaping up right now, Shaka?
Listen, it's the amazing thing is we've said all season long that this is a lesser version of Manchester City than we've become used to. Yet we sit here and they have not lost a game dating back to the turn of the year, I think it is. City, for all their faults, for all the issues that they may have, being a lesser version of themselves, this point of the season is they just know how to get the job done. So it's almost impossible to look past them at this point. I think Liverpool are all but out of the title race at this point. Arsenal, it's while playing the best football in the league, as I've said, City, it's in their hands, and that is the last place you want it to be.
You see them winning out, LA? City?
Well, yes. They have the best option that anybody else has. I mean, look, I think what's important about today's game in particular for Manchester City is that because it was over after 35, 40 minutes, realistically, then if you're Pep Guardiola, you're able to withdraw players. You're able to make changes. You're able to relieve some stress. There are going to be a lot of stressful moments, both for the mind and the body, in this close out of the season. And so if you have fresh minds, if you have fresh bodies, you give yourself the best opportunity available. So it's important that teams like Arsenal and Manchester City are able to go through these games in which it becomes a glorified training session, so that when it counts, when you need that small margin that may just be the difference between you winning the league or not, you're fresh, and your legs are there, and your mind is there, and your heart is there. Manchester City, I think, should be the favorites because of the pedigree, because of the experience, because of what they've done. Arsenal are right there, and I think what Arsenal should be very mindful of, let's make this as difficult as possible for Manchester City, as stressful as possible for Manchester City. Let's not just give it away. Let's force them to be perfect from here on out.
Frank, what are your thoughts on how we're seeing things right now?
Well, so far, and since the beginning of the season, I see City, and as I explained just before, I think they are already in the money time, and they are who they are, and we all know that they are ready for the fight. I think Arsenal, as Ali just alluded, can put a big pressure if they win against Spurs, which I doubt, because having seen Everton, winning the derby against Liverpool, it's going to give a big idea of running Arsenal chances from Spurs. So it can happen that we have a big turn of events during the weekend, and seeing City having an easy way to win the title. But yeah, maybe if Arsenal wins against Tottenham, we'll have a suspense. Otherwise, it could be over, because I think City plays within less than 72 hours. They play against Nottingham Forest. If they win and Arsenal loses, it's kind of over.